The Greenwave New Zealand project is investigating the viability of a domestic seaweed farming industry. While there are early signs of commercially viable opportunities here, companies currently working with seaweed can only use material gathered from wild harvest or mussel farm bycatch. The Greenwave pilot, with contributions from MPI's SFFF fund, is run by EnviroStrat, alongside a number of collaborators. They're looking at a wide range of areas, from legislation and infrastructure to processes for seeding ocean farms and the scientific analysis of end products.
EnviroStrat undertook a feasibility study and a business case which showed great potential in seaweed for New Zealand. Greenwave NZ is a 3-year pilot. What we're trying to get out of it is to create an economically viable seed-to-sale seaweed industry within New Zealand. We're focused on hatchery operations, on-water outplanting, and then all the way through to harvesting and post-harvest production. Greenwave New Zealand is led by EnviroStrat. We are the project developers and the project managers. The University of Waikato are running all the great science around hatchery operations and moving the seaweed from the hatchery out onto the barge where we outplant. Premium Seas is managing the on-water operation, and we have an offtake license with AgriSea, who are going to buy all of the seaweed. We're also working with the University of Auckland, and we're working in collaboration with Ngāti Pūkenga and Ngāi Ki Tāmaki, who are some of the farm owners in the Hauraki Gulf. The feeling is really optimistic. Seaweed is an incredible species, and the regenerative ocean farming model that we're using requires zero input. And the species that are compatible and co-located, so you use seaweed as a foundation crop, and then you can add in shellfish such as mussels and oysters, which we grow really well here in New Zealand. And these species are incredible because while they grow, they're actually cleaning up our water column. So they're removing nitrates and phosphates from the water, and also carbon. Seaweed creates an environment for more species to come, shelter and grow. So it actually increases fish population as well. We're looking at a mixed operating model, which puts the farmer at the centre and allows them to be small business owners. We're also looking at creating an umbrella entity which helps the farmers along each step. So we'll train them, we'll advise them, and we'll also record all of their environmental impact along the way. The program has really robust environmental monitoring. We are monitoring in-water environmental conditions. So we're looking at what kind of flow, what kind of light penetration, what kind of nutrients are required to grow seaweed. We've got 3 different pilot sites in the Hauraki Gulf, and we're monitoring all of those different environmental conditions at each site.
Sort of major part of the seaweed up here.
MPI has helped us in so many ways. They've helped us at the start through funding the pilot through the SFFF fund. They've also helped us get all of the permits that we require, and they've enabled us through actually creating a secondary law change to enable us to farm seaweed.
It's not mature.
Well, it's taken a massive collaborative effort between all of our partners, iwi, MPI, to get this across the board and give it the greatest chance of success.
So within this pilot program, we chose to work with Clonia, which is common kelp, because it is one of the most common and abundant seaweed around all of New Zealand, and very much so up here in the North Island. And it's also really abundant around the farms where we have access to space to outplant. And so we know that it will grow really well here because it's already really abundant. It also already has a market. So there are several businesses in New Zealand who already use Eclonia in their products. Eclonia is a kelp, and kelp are one of the major seaweed that are used in seaweed products internationally as well. And so there's also that larger international market having a similar seaweed, but that is native to New Zealand. So it's got everything going for it. What we do at the university, we're providing that early life history work that underpins the farming. So all the sort of smaller scale work to get the seaweed to reproduce and how to raise it in the hatchery from little swimming spores to little seaweed babies big enough to outplant in the ocean for grow out. And so what we do is we've got spools that we wind twine around and then we insert this whole spool with the twine in the spore solution. And for a while, the spores will be swimming around and eventually they'll settle down and start growing on the spool. And then we keep these spores in an environmental control hatchery where we've got perfect light and perfect temperature and perfect nutrients for them. And we keep them in there for 4 to 8 weeks before we take them out and plant them on the farm. Seaweed aquaculture has been going on for the last, 80 years at a commercial scale with really similar techniques that have obviously developed over time and primarily for scale. So there's a lot of international knowledge that we draw on. But because the species that we work with is not farmed anywhere else, then we have to kind of develop those species-specific conditions, so the correct temperature and the correct length in that of time in the hatchery and all that sort of little massaging to make everything work really well.